wait a sec, that we're all logged in. I think we should be pretty good now. Welcome everyone to AADSAS personal statement. What do I say? I am assuming that all of you are here because you're applying to dental school and you're kind of not sure where to begin with this kind of big white piece of paper, metaphorically, to fill with the perfect thing that's going to make schools love you. So I'm here to kind of help you through that a little bit. My name is Ellen Watts. My background is in admissions and advising of students. I began as director of admissions at Columbia College of Dental Medicine, did that for 14 years. I screened all candidates for interview. I interviewed hundreds of candidates, particularly when I would be recruiting on the West Coast. So I did a lot of on-site interviews for students. I also was involved with handing out scholarship money and was a voting member of the admissions committee. After that, I moved to become the assistant dean of students at Columbia University's post-bac program, where I work with a tremendous number of non-traditional students. For those of you who don't know, post-bacs are students who are going back to school after completing their undergraduate degree to pursue a different course of study or improve their grades and metrics to apply to professional school. After that, I ran the pre-health program at Fordham University at the Rose Hill campus in the Bronx, assistant dean for pre-health, and I ran that for just over 11 years. So I've been doing this for a good amount of time. It's actually been my whole professional career. And I really love to help candidates figure out how to get the word out about themselves. And it's truly not that complicated. So we're going to talk a little bit about, actually a lot about the essay/personal statement. Different people call it different things. But what you're doing is you're taking 4,300 characters, and it is your chance to talk to the screener or the admissions committee. 4,300 characters is not a lot. It's 750 words, roughly one page if it's in a 12-point font. So what does this tell us, and what is important here in the personal statement? Can anyone tell me what's important to list or to talk about in the personal statement? Let's see what your ideas are. Drop that in the chat. What do you think you should be talking about? Leah, why dentistry? Good answer. What type font should we use? Don't worry about the font. You just 12-point font, and it's going to be pulled together in the application in a uniform way. Why dentistry? Personal growth, why you want to become a dentist, motivations, leadership skills. Okay, so you guys have a really good sense of what you want to do. Anecdotes that tie to why dentistry. I'm going to kind of touch on that a little bit. Story that led you to dentistry, experiences, what you overcame along the way. These are all very, very good answers. Before I go any further, actually, I love using the chat feature, and I forgot to ask you to drop in here where you are sitting right now. What states and cities do we have represented here, so I understand? Oh, a Canadian, all right. Texas, Virginia, California, Alaska. Oh, you guys are from all over. I love it. Good. Good. Well, remind me to touch a little bit on state schools and private schools as well, even though this is all about the personal statement. Okay, so you see how much you have, and I want to encourage anyone to drop a question in the chat if they have it. You see how many spaces you have, right? About a page, about 750 words. It's important to remember that this is your voice in the preliminary part of the application, right? It's a chance to introduce yourself and put a spotlight on what brought you here. A lot of people are concerned, and a lot of people say to me, I don't have like a really unique story, right? And everybody else has got this great story. My friends in the pre-dental club, or I was looking up things online. You don't have to worry at all about that. The fact is, all of you who are on here right now, we have 106 people so far in this Zoom. You're all arriving at the same place, probably because of similar experiences. Maybe, you know, the common ones are my dentist gave me my smile back after maybe an accident, or braces changed my life and gave me confidence, or something happened to a family member and I saw the transformative nature of fixing their smile and making them comfortable with their appearance. Those are very, very common themes, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's very valid. right? And so then to investigate that more, you've probably all gone out and had similar experiences. So you don't have to be unique in this, but you have to be truthful. And it has to ring true that you're telling me something that really kind of an emotionally resonated with you. So you don't want to try and pretend you're something you're not. Just kind of believe in your own journey to this point and tell your story. So what it's not is a place for you to explain why you got a C in organic chemistry. That's not what this is used for. I can look at your grades. I can look at your letters of recommendation. I don't need to look to the personal statement and see you talking about those grades. Whatever the reason might be that you got a C in Orgo, if it was a problematic course, I'm just simply going to look to the DAT to see if I can kind of see that you've balanced that up and you have a strong score in that. That's going to supersede for me any challenge you might have had in a single class, because that DAT exam is the only thing that every applicant does that's uniform. Excuse me. It's also not a place for you to tell this rambling, not well thought out, disjointed story about who you are and three different kind of routes you might have taken to get you to where the point where you are today. It's a place for you to give me information and answer some questions that I organically would have about a candidate for dental school. And also not a retelling of your resume. Now, there's a balance there. There's a lot you're going to put in the activities and experiences section that you're also going to kind of talk about in the personal statement, and that's okay. But it's not an opportunity for you to just kind of try and cram everything you've ever done in there. We have that in activities and experiences. What we want here is you to talk to us and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. So how do you begin doing that? The way I like to tell people to do it is just do voice to text. Just start talking about what you are thinking about writing about. Start putting down on paper or putting in your phone and then kind of sending to your computer exactly what got you interested in this in the first place, right? My mother, my father, myself, my siblings, someone had an issue. This is what I saw in the dentist's office. I thought it was cool. 5 years later, I started thinking about a career. I thought I wanted to go to med school. Then I remembered, what I learned about dentistry and I enjoyed the quality of life. And then I started shadowing my dentist. And then I saw this really cool thing that the pediatric dentist did. Just get it all out. Don't worry about it being done in kind of a way that works for the reader. Just download everything from your brain that you've been thinking about, right? So write that rambling, disjointed story. You'll find the narrative within there. And people always say to me, I don't know how to say this, right? I want to tell them X, but I don't know how to say it. And I would say, just say it. Tell me right now what you want to tell the reader. And 90% of the time, it's a matter of changing one or two words, and it's all right there. You've got to kind of trust your story and not worry that you need to make the language bigger than it is or make the story have more layers than it actually does. Simplicity can be the key. So you begin that way, and you have 4,300 characters, but this initial draft should have 10,000 characters, right? It should be everything you ever thought about. And then you'll kind of start to see where the narrative is within that big, messy first draft. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the opening paragraph and how you can make that work for you. It should be very tight, it should be very interesting, and it should introduce a couple of topics that you might be talking about later in the essay. Because I'm the director of admissions, I'm screening your application. The most tragic thing is that you have spent months having family and friends and your English professor read this over, and you think you have this beautiful story at the beginning that is just spelling everything out for me. But you know what? I have to review 100 applications today, and I'm not going to invest in the story you're telling me. I'm going to be skimming to see what I can pull out of it. And if your first three sentences are not pulling me in to read and to kind of understand what's coming next, I'm just going to continue skimming the whole thing to see if there's anything that stands out, and I'm going to move on. Right? So it's got to be very tight, and it's got to introduce a few topics. I don't want a long story in the first paragraph. Too many adjectives is the key that you're doing something wrong. So what should it be? Very simple. The who, what, when, where, and how. Who are you? What are you going to tell me in this first paragraph that just gives me a little glimpse of who this person is? Right? Maybe you're the president of your sorority, or maybe you have struggled a little bit with what you want to do and you're a non-traditional applicant. Just give me a little taste of that. what do you want to do? You obviously want to be a dentist. You want to state that in the first paragraph. The when part and the where. When and where did these things happen that you're going to be telling me about? It doesn't need to be generic. You don't want to say when I went to college. You want to say when I went to university of whatever. You don't want to say in the town I grew up in. You want to say in Boston, Massachusetts, here's what we used to do. Every detail you give me about yourself is making the story more and more real to me and more personal to you. So I want a lot of those details. I want every proper noun you can give me in there. Don't tell me about the research lab you worked in. Tell me the name of the primary investigator whose lab it was. I worked in the Hernandez lab at Boston University, because maybe me or someone on my admissions committee is familiar with that individual, right? Dentistry and science in general in the US is a kind of a small community when you think about it. And a lot of people will be like, I trained with her, or I went to dental school with him, or he's my partner's cousin. You don't know what it is, but you give me every possible detail you can. And how? The how is just part of who, what, when, where, and how. How are you going to get this done? What is the plan? So let's take an opening paragraph right here. Let's see. Yeah, Melissa. So you think we should name the dentist we shadowed with? Absolutely, because maybe the dentist you shadowed with is someone I admitted to dental school 20 years ago. Or maybe he is a colleague of someone who's on my admissions committee, right? You don't know. So give us names of who these people are. Okay, so we're looking at the opening paragraph. Please bear with me because I am going to read this whole thing to you, and I want you to start thinking about what you think about it. So I open up the application, I start reading, and it says, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And the Dalai Lama said that. I've explored multiple options for my life's work with the hope of helping people. I first considered being a doctor, but did not find the lifestyle conducive to my future. While I love science, the idea of life and death was not a concept I wanted to face in my career. Then I considered being a high school teacher, maybe science, so I could share my interests with others, as my teachers did for me. Finally, I landed on dentistry, which has everything I want. I'm good with my hands, I love science, and I'm good with people. It will allow me to serve others while doing something compatible with my natural abilities and personal interests. I'm eager to work towards my goals and attain new insights from the distinct perspectives of others. Similarly, I hope my experiences will be impactful to those I meet along the way. So, little drop in the chat here. What do you guys think of this opening paragraph? Boring, says Aaron. It's okay. There's nothing about him. It's a bit long. Very generic. It isn't specific. Okay, you guys are good. Doesn't grab you. That's my favorite one right there. So let's see what we have here. That opening paragraph was 954 characters. It was 22% of the space that I have. And I can't tell you how many times I have read a facsimile of that opening paragraph for a personal statement for any number of health professions. That represents a tremendous amount of wasted space, but it also has potential, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that quote. Why am I going to take out that quote? Someone must know. Vicky, gold star. It's not your words. I understand if this meets your philosophy of life, but what I've read at the beginning here is not your words. In the personal statement is personal, right? So I'm taking that out right away. I've explored many options for my life's work of helping people. And then all of this area here, talking about being a doctor, talking about loving science, talking about maybe a high school teacher. Why does all of that come out? Anyone? Okay, that comes out because you're telling me what you don't want to do. I don't need to know what you don't want to do. It's okay for you to have considered a lot of things, but this isn't anything that informs me about you. It just informs me about your thought process and what you want to do in the future. Well, we're at the future right now, right? You've landed on dentistry. Also, you used the term, I first considered being a doctor. What you meant was a physician, right? A dentist is also a doctor. So you have to be very careful about the language you use. If you were to keep that in, that would set some people off, right? You are applying to become a doctor of dental medicine. Your friend who wants to go to medical school is applying to become an allopathic or an osteopathic physician, right? Doctor is a uniform term for both of those jobs. So we're going to take that out, right? We're going to take out anything about what you didn't want to do, what you considered and discarded. Not my concern, don't care. So now we're down to 510 words. And I've explored multiple options for my life's work with the hope of helping people. I landed on dentistry, which has everything I want. I'm good with my hands, I love science, and I'm good with people. It will allow me to serve others while doing something compatible with my natural abilities and my personal interests. I'm eager to work towards my goals and attain new insights from the distinct perspective of others. Similarly, I hope my experiences will be impactful to those I meet along the way. So what do we think of version 2? Anyone? Better, getting to the point, better, right? Still a little generic. Okay, good. You guys are good at this. All right, so what do we know? We know that our applicant wants to help people, excuse me, is good with his hands, loves science, good with people, and desires insights from a distinct perspective. I don't know what that means, but I think the applicant is trying to tell me something, but I think the wording might be off. So why have I taken out this first line here? I've explored multiple options for my life's work with the hope of helping people. I landed on dentistry, which has everything I want. Landed, yeah, that's a question. You know, they decided on dental in the end. So I'm taking this out because, again, I don't need to know you've explored multiple options. I assume most people have, right? With the hope of helping people. Back to show, not tell. As someone said earlier, I don't need to know you want to help people. You're going to show me that. And I landed on dentistry, which has everything I want. I know you landed on dentistry because I'm reading your application, right? So everything we've got here in this first sentence that I've crossed out is meaningless to me at this point in your application. If I'm sitting across from you and I'm having a cup of coffee and we're talking about your choices, sure, that's one thing, but you have limited space here, right? So every sentence has to count. So now we have, I'm good with my hands, I love science, and I'm good with people. That's good. Dentistry will allow me to serve others while doing something compatible with my natural abilities and personal interests. I'm eager to work towards my goals. I took that out because that's not going to sway me. Oh, she wants to work towards her goals, right? Sign me up. That doesn't tell me anything. Wasted characters. And attain new insights from the distinct perspective of others. I still think you're trying to tell me something there, but I'm not quite sure what you mean. Similarly, I hope my experiences will be impactful to those I meet along the way. That is lovely. It's altruistic, but it's not telling me too much other than you hope to do good work. And I think that that is probably what I'm assuming for anyone who's in the application process. So we've now got these, but they are blanket statements, right? And many of you have noted generic, not telling me anything. I'm good with my hands. I love science and I'm good with people. Dentistry will allow me to serve others while doing something compatible with my natural abilities and personal interests. I'm eager to attain new insights from the distinct perspective of others. It's good, but it's generic. And what I know about you is these broad overviews, and you've given me no specific details. Let's see. I'm just looking in the chat feature quickly. Let's see, what would be a good intro? Gazal, we're going to get to that. Or something to say in an interview. Need to use examples, not just tell. Parmita might be onto something. Okay, so how about we do the show me technique? I'm good with my hands could turn into something that you would all have an example. It doesn't have to be this. Painting has been a hobby since I was 6 years old, and in high school, I fell in love with sculpture. Tells me you're good with your hands, right? But I know something about you now. I love science. At Smith Jones College, my love of science led to a major in biology with an eye towards entering the field of healthcare, and I minored in fine arts. So now I know where you went to college and I know what you studied, right? And you think, well, everyone studied biology. Not true. A lot of people go in a lot of different directions. I'm good with people, which is a broad statement that could mean anything. You're telling me here some real good stuff. In college, I realized I wanted my career to involve working with others in a problem-solving capacity. I volunteered with the elderly in my community. I was elected social chair of my sorority, each roles that were service-oriented and brought great satisfaction. Next, dentistry will allow me to serve others while doing something compatible with my natural abilities and personal interests. Better to say being a dentist combines these interests and also provides an artistic outlet, right? It doesn't have to be longer. It can often be much shorter to save you characters. And finally, this confusing sentence here, I'm eager to attain new insights from the distinct perspective of others. What does that mean? Well, to the candidate, it meant my volunteer work introduced me to perspectives representing different cultures, or representing, excuse me, cultures different from my own. And I hope to have a career in which I can continue to learn from others. Cultural competency and cultural humility are huge parts of professional school admissions, and dentistry is no different, right? It's very important that you are open to all the different people in the world, and showing me that you already have that experience is a wonderful thing, because you are not going to be going to school in your neighborhood and treating only your neighbors. You're going to be treating people from far and wide, and I want to know that you enjoy learning about other cultures. You are going to sit with your patients in the dental clinic and chat with them a little bit and get to know them. This is how dentistry differs from medicine, right? You're going to spend on average 20 minutes with your patients, not 4 minutes with your patients. You're going to get to know them. You're going to see them over years, maybe even decades, helping them with confidence and smiles and different family members and things like that, right? So knowing that you can appreciate someone's cultural upbringing, and how they live their life and what their holidays are and what their traditions are is a great, great way to say, I am eager to get into this profession. So now version 3 is 753 characters long, still longer, still shorter rather than the one we began with. And again, I'm going to read it to you. Hope you like my voice. Painting has been a hobby since I was 6 years old, and in high school, I fell in love with sculpture. At Smith Jones College, my love of science led to a major in biology with an eye towards entering the field of healthcare. I minored in fine arts. It was in college that I realized I wanted my career to involve working with others in a problem-solving capacity. I volunteered with the elderly in the community, and I was elected social chair of my sorority, each roles that were service-oriented and brought great satisfaction. Being a dentist combines these interests and also provides an artistic outlet. My volunteer work introduced me to perspectives representing cultures different from my own, and I hope to have a career in which I can continue to learn from others. So I'm scanning all of these personal statements, and this one is giving me so many important details right in the first paragraph, right? So this is one where I'm going to read further, right? That's all you want. That's what the personal statement is about. Pull me in, give me the who, what, when, where, why of who you are throughout the body of the personal statement. But that first paragraph is what's going to catch me, right? It's what's going to make me read further. And it's hard for students to recognize that this is kind of rooted in how many applications someone has to review. I'm not sitting down with your application all day on a Tuesday, right? Going through line by line. I'm looking at academics, I'm looking at DATs, I'm looking at activities, and I'm reading the personal statement to get a sense of who this person is. Your goal here is to make me want to read further than the first paragraph. So as I've read this, here are my impressions. This candidate paints, sculpts, and minored in fine arts. Majored in bio at the famous Smith Jones College. Volunteers in the community, elected by her peers to a leadership position. That's pretty important to me. It means your peers respect you. And I can look forward to say maybe you might be part of student government in my dental school. I know that dentistry is serving all the interests you have, right? You've already shown me that you have that foundation of interest in the core tenets of being a dentist. And you have an appreciation for different perspectives, which is just a big plus. So this is good. This is a good first paragraph. Do you remember our original first paragraph? What do you think between this one? Want to take a second to read this over again? right? And then going back to this one, 753 characters versus what was this, 900 and something, that told me almost nothing about the candidate, almost nothing whatsoever. So what you want to do is work very hard on giving yourself a very, very long first draft with everything in it. Even if I've told you not to mention it, if you're worried about your grades, put your grades in that first draft. Let's see how you feel when you see that on paper, right? The who, what, when, where, how. Don't edit anything out at first. Throw it all in there, and then we'll start to find some sort of a narrative that's going to tell your story. Remember, your story does not have to be something that is so unique that it blows people's socks off. Everyone in dental school has a similar background of their interest in healthcare. They may have come at it from 15 million different points of view. But the fact is, you all want to help people, right? You all are looking into dentistry because of the idea of kind of liking to spend time with people. You don't want to be a researcher locked away in a lab. You want to have a career where you can help people work on their confidence, build their smiles quite literally, and maybe help kids who are going through a tough time. That's not rare to read in a personal statement, and it's not wrong to read in a personal statement. If you've learned that, I love it. Then you're going to kind of come over to my side of the fence. So what is the key to finding your voice? What have we been doing here? What can anyone tell me? What's the most important part of getting ready here? You can drop that in the chat. Be specific, personalization, be personal. Okay, being personal is good, but we are going to, Vicky, you're getting close to it, right? Write all your thoughts down. All right, you guys are close. The key is edit and edit again. I think Vicky was the closest. Write all your thoughts down. Take everything there is and pull it together into one place. Then start saying, what are these words and sentences and paragraphs saying about me? What is my who, what, when, where, how? Have I told them about my basic interest in dentistry? Have I told them how I investigated that interest? If you had braces, that's wonderful, right? And that changed your life, that is great. There has to be more than that to your understanding of dentistry. You had a patient's point of view. I need you to flip the script and be on the doctor's side of things and see what it's like. Talk to me about your volunteer work, your clinical work, your shadowing, what you saw, the rewards and challenges of the career as you saw them through either being a dental assistant, a dental hygienist, volunteering at a dentist's office, shadowing. If you're in Florida, I know a lot of people do the Mission of Mercy program that's down there. So tell me how you know it's for you. You saw the good, you saw the bad, this is why you like it, right? Academically, what have you done? If you're a bio major, that's wonderful. If you're some sort of a sociology, health and human services major who's interested in working with the underserved and you have experience in that area, pull that out and tell me that. But just keep asking yourself, for everything you're telling me, is this progressing the information they know about me? Is this pushing my story forward? Or have I gone off on a spiral and talked about something having to do with my mother or my nephew or a bike accident my friend got into? Right? Have I spent the whole first paragraph setting up that it was a beautiful sunny summer day before somebody fell off their bike and lost their two front teeth? All I need to know is that somebody fell off their bike and lost their two front teeth. It doesn't matter to me what the temperature was, and it doesn't matter to me even what the relationship of that person is to you. If that's the seed of your interest, keep that part of the story very, very, very small and get right to how things impacted you and what you did to learn more about it. Let's see. Let's see. I sometimes ask myself, how easy would it be for someone else to copy my essay to judge the individuality? You mean, Eric, you mean copy it and turn it in as their own? Um, I'm sure it's been done, but there were many, many, many times that I read an essay and then interviewed a student and said, this is not the person who wrote that essay. I have had colleagues who have said to someone in that situation, talk to me about your essay. How did you come up with that idea? And grilled them for 30 minutes about their essay. It's someone who made a candidate read the essay to them because they didn't feel that it was remotely in their voice. So it can come across. It doesn't really help you to cheat and have someone else write your essay because what I want to know is about you, right? And I'm not grading your essay on your writing style. I'm looking for as many details as I can find about you. So it's important to remember that too. How should I write about experiences, in what format? For the experiences section of the application. Okay, that's a little bit different than what we're talking about, Melissa, but you can either go narrative or bullet point, whatever is comfortable for you. That's the way you can do it. So if you guys want to work with me, and I'm happy, I'm going to stick around right now and answer some questions. But if you want to request a coaching session with me, I have a few slots open. So you can copy the QR code and reach out to Leland and set some things up with me. I have hourly programs as well as full packages. I love working with students because really it is a simple process and everyone kind of overcomplicates it. And I need you to understand we can just bring it down to its base format, which is the application is you sharing everything you have done. That's personal statement, work and experiences, activities, licensure, your COVID essay, all of that kind of stuff. So you just need to feel very comfortable talking about what you've done and putting your information out there without overcomplicating it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. I want to see if any of you have any specific questions. Let's see. The code is disabled. Oh, Erica, I have to fix that. Okay, we forgive Erica for that. Can I talk about my hobbies and interest in the personal statement? Yeah, absolutely. Right. You want to make sure that you're talking about whatever is important to you. If your hobbies go to manual dexterity, if your hobbies go to how you center yourself when things are really tough, there's going to come a time in my dental school where you have 3 exams in 2 days and you are going to feel burned out and stressed. And I need to know that you have a healthy outlet. Is that going to be at the top of the essay? It is not, right? Because the essay should be done in a inverted pyramid format. If any of you are journalism majors, the inverted pyramid means the who, what, when, where, how is at the top, like we talked about in that first paragraph, to the best of your ability. And as you go further down the essay, it gets a little bit less important because skimming. And if you are concerned about that, think of how you read a news article, right? You skim the first 2 paragraphs. If there's a story setting up what the subject of the article is, you're likely going to skip that story just to get where you are. That's how it is in an essay, right? Give me what I want right off the bat. Don't make me work for it. Last question, something about failing. To confirm, don't talk about failing in any part of the application. If you have failed some courses and retaken them, a letter of recommendation would address that well. But what are you going to tell me, right? I failed and then I retook it and I did better. If it's important to you to get the information out there, then find a small space in there, but it should not take up a lot of space. When I see you've done poorly academically, I'm not looking to the personal statement. If you've done too poorly, I'm moving on. So maybe what you need to do is take additional coursework or do a post-bac program or something like that. But in general, I'm not looking to the personal statement to see what happened with your microbiology course. Oh, Dominique, some humor. Yes. Yeah, I did enjoy a little bit of humor in a personal statement. Absolutely. You got called Bugs Bunny. Yeah, I think that's good, right? Because that kind of brought you around to your own oral health, and probably when that issue was corrected with your braces and people stopped calling you Bugs Bunny, that might have really done a lot to build your confidence. So that's an important thing to share. Let's see what else we have. Would including why we chose a specific dental school be important in a personal statement? No, we don't want that because this personal statement is going to every single dental school to which you apply. Secondary applications will often ask you for more essays, and that is the place where you want to work in why you're interested in that school. Some of the schools will ask you directly, what do you like about it here? But secondary applications, it's important to know a lot about the school so you can include their values in your answers when you're answering their secondary application essay questions. But you don't want to put anything about your dream school in that essay. And I would advise against going too heavily into what specialty you want to get into, because right now you're applying for a DDS or a DMD degree. You are not applying to be a pediatric dentist, an oral surgeon, an endodontist. Your thought that you want to do that is very valid and you can touch on it, but you need to put into writing. But of course, I'm very aware that I have so much more to learn about other specialties. Because the odds of someone coming out of dental school with the same goals as when they came in is close to zero. Because there's so much you haven't done, right? There's so much more that you have to learn. Let's see, is having a couple B's bad? Rania, no, it's not. Don't worry. This is not built on 4.0, right? You want to show a solid level of achievement across the board, DATs that are backing up your solid level of achievement, and then bringing a lot to the table outside. Most people have gotten a couple B's, right? If you suddenly have a couple C minuses and D's and F's, that's going to be problematic because it's going to anchor that undergrad science GPA down. So your choices in that aspect are to go back and do post-bac courses, redoing the courses you failed, or if you are kind of a C minus candidate all during undergrad, go back and get a master's degree, right? Get a special master's that's linked with a dental school that will give you a leg up on admission to that school. Tufts University has them. Georgetown has them. I'm an East Coast girl. Drexel and Temple and Jefferson all have them, but they're all over the country, and you can find them on the ADA website. You should all be extremely familiar with all of the data and all of the information on the ADEA.org website, which is the American Dental Education Association. Anything you need to know about dental school, about programs, about academic record enhancing programs can all be found there, right? You need to not think that this is a one shot and done. And you also need to not think that the runway ends here at the end of your undergraduate college career. Plenty of people. I mean, I spent 10, 11 years in Columbia in the post-bac program, helping people who are going back to school to prepare. Your life experience is going to bring you a wealth of attraction from schools if you go back to school and kind of perfect your academics. You're going to be a much different person at 25, 27, 29 than you are at 22 when you've struggled academically. So if this is something you want to make sure you stick with it. Red flags in the essay, a very good question. Telling me about your grades. I don't want to know about your grades. Your grades are on your transcript. Another red flag in the essay, kind of things I talked about, telling me why you don't want to be a physician. I am not, if I'm a dentist, I don't see myself as a supporting character to a physician in healthcare. So you don't have to compare other health careers to the one that you're trying to join. Rambling and telling me a lot about someone else's experience, right? My grandfather had to have dentures, and going into 300 characters about how difficult it was for your grandfather with his ill-fitting dentures to be able to chew. First of all, if I'm reading this, I'm probably a dentist or dental adjacent, and I understand how that works. Second of all, that's not about you. Again, all that space talking about your grandfather and his dentures could be condensed down to one sentence saying, my grandfather had poorly constructed dentures and had difficulty chewing. And then moving on to how that impacted you and how that influenced you. So going in too many tangents that have nothing to do with you is what I spend the majority of my time working with students on trying to understand. Should I share my high school experience working with a dentist on a mission trip out of the country that got me interested in dentistry? Highlighting that the dentist encouraged me to pull a tooth under his supervision. Yara, talking about red flags, that would be one. You are not a licensed dentist. You don't have the right to pull anyone's tooth, even if you crossed borders and there are no laws telling you that you can't. So you want to make sure that none of you do anything hands-on with any patients. And if you have, I would exclude that from your narrative. Because then in the interview, I will probably be talking to you about ethics and why you felt that this was something you were able to do. No shade to you, because I know that there are a lot of practitioners out there that will allow people to do that. It's something you should actively avoid talking about. I really can't be any more extreme in my guidance in that way. What if you're someone who is unable to pursue hobbies or isn't super outgoing? Does this make you look bad? No, I'm sure there's something you do, right? Do you write poetry? Do you exercise? Do you talk to people online? I doubt very much that you study and then just sit and stare at the wall. So it's okay if you're not super outgoing. You don't have to be a type A personality, but give me kind of a well-rounded sense of who you are and what you've done. If you have not done any shadowing, that's going to put a bit of a crimp in it, because I want to know that you know what you're getting into, right? I don't want you to get here and then on the third day in the clinic be like, this was not what I signed up for. It's much grosser than I thought, right? I don't want to know that. Gets back to the idea of rewards and challenges, right? There are parts of it that are hard. There are parts of it that are unpleasant. And I want to know that you've seen them and you're still in for it. What topics to avoid when writing my personal statement so the reviewer doesn't feel bored? Again, I'm not going to feel bored if this is authentic to you and I'm learning your story. But I want you to tell me about you, and I want to come away from reading it, getting a really good sense of who you are, what your motivations are, and what you've done to bring you to this point. No research, that is not a problem whatsoever. Dominique is right. It's a plus, but it's not a requirement. Most people go into dentistry because they are people, and they want to be working with others and kind of having that social interaction as well as part of the job. So not liking to be in the lab is not uncommon. Let's see. Being the primary caregiver of a child, sure, yeah, whether it's your own or not, that does very much count as doing something, right? What has that been about? You've been trusted the care of someone who can't care for themselves. There's an ethical portion to it also, that you have to make sure that this child is loved and taken care of. Child doesn't have any autonomy and doesn't know kind of what to do. There's trust on the part of the family, whether it's your own family or someone you're working for. There's leadership, there's responsibility. That's all very, very good stuff to talk about. Uh, let's see. Do I advise against using jargon? What kind of jargon, Maddie? Like formal dental jargon or jargon that's casual language? Oh yeah, no, use dental jargon when you're talking about what you've done, right? That's fine. That tells me that you're kind of involved and you've learned some things, and that you're sharing them with others. If they let you help assist during fillings while shadowing, water, air, suction, handing them tools. Don't call them tools, call them instruments. And would that be a red flag? No, but also, you know, are you trained? Are you licensed? You just want to make sure that you're not overstepping your bounds. And if you have overstepped or been encouraged to overstep, maybe let's not put a spotlight on that, right? Valeria, I'm interested in helping my own community through dentistry and explain that. That sounds wonderful, right? To hone in on one population. Sure, you're interested in helping it, but all the more so if there's a need in your community, right? If you're from Beverly Hills and you've decided I really want to help the Beverly Hills community, maybe I don't think that is such a unique or special thing that you're doing. But if there's a need in your community and you're looking to turn around and kind of be part of the solution and help people, that is fantastic, right? That's the type of student I want to bring in. Please don't forget that most dental schools are in underserved areas, and the patients you're going to be learning on are tremendously in need, right? They can't just call up and make an appointment at a dentist. They're going to a teaching institution in order to be seen, because oftentimes financially that's more effective, right? There's no dental insurance, or if there is, there's kind of high prices to everything, and there's a willingness for patients to take a little bit more time to be able to afford something that might be out of touch. How many hours is recommended? Some schools will give you the number of hours that they require. You should be very familiar with every school's that you're considering, academic requirements as well as clinical requirements. But schools that don't give you hours, I mean, I want to see quality over quantity. If you're going 1 hour a week for 4 years, I'm not really gonna think that you've seen too much. But if you're on a regular basis going in, whether it's bi-weekly or monthly, and you're spending 5, 6 hours there at a time, I know that over time you're seeing a lot of things. So you're really learning a lot about the profession. For those of you who are earlier in your preparation, I suggest keeping a journal about what you saw and how it impacted you, because you're going to be asked to kind of give that information back in the application process. It can be easier to jog your memory if you have it written down. Let's see. Is it okay to include goals and achievements after dental school? Sure, that's okay if you know what you want to do. But again, I don't want your goal or achievement to be, the best endodontist in your community, because again, you're not applying for a specialty. You're applying to become a pre-doctoral student. So your goals should, if they're very specific to one specialty, you should acknowledge that this, you're very open to the fact that this may change. But right now, this is what you're thinking of doing. Is it bad if I never worked? If you never worked anywhere, or if you never worked in a dental office? I'm not worried about your employment history, but I do need to know that you have spent time with dentists and you understand what it is. I'm a dental hygienist, been practicing for 3 years. Is it okay to take prereqs at a community college? I would reach out to the dental schools in your state and see what their thought is on that. If you're in California, likely the answer is yes. If you're in New York, the answer might be no. So let's have you reach out to state and private schools in your area and see what they have to say. Can I talk about how I helped people during COVID, especially working on the COVID vaccine? I think you mean how individually you helped. I did not help with the COVID vaccine. But yes, there is an entire COVID essay that you'll have to talk about what you did during COVID, how it impacted you academically, professionally, and personally. So that would be a great place to talk about that. Probably not in the personal statement, because you have a separate essay to be able to discuss that. Work experiences and how they've influenced our path. Yeah, that sounds wonderful, right? That's part of who, what, when, where, why. That's part of the why and the how it got you where you are. Good question about transcript entry. Are we entering courses with a W? You enter every single solitary thing that appears on your transcript. Don't leave out a period. Don't leave out a dash. Don't leave out anything, because your application is going to be reviewed by someone who is there to verify that the information that you have entered is the same as the information that your transcript shows. So you're being honest. Those people are not hired to make a judgment call whether this seems the same as that, right? If something is wrong, they will send it back to you to correct. You send it back in, you're at the end of the line. So I would recommend ordering a transcript from every institution you have attended, sent to AADSAS, and one sent to you from every institution. And when you're filling out the application, go right from that official transcript. You can't go wrong that way. If there's an abbreviation, use the abbreviation. If there's a misspelling, go with the misspelling. Whatever that transcript says, you say. For dental residency, would you say there are any differences in the essay? Yes, dental residency is much different. That would be a much different situation. You're talking about your experiences and how you've chosen that. I still have to do the COVID essay when I was in high school at the time. Yeah, they want to know, right? Over 1 million people in this country lost their lives, and think of how many family members and friends that impacted. They want to know exactly what happened to you and your people and your community during COVID and how you might have been impacted by that. The majority of you will talk about spring 2020 and fall 2020 going online, and spring 21 being hybrid. That's to be expected, right? And that's also you're allowed to have pass-fail courses in spring 2020 at all schools. So that's not really something you need to go into the detail about, but they want to know a lot more about it. They're saying, this is a once in a lifetime occurrence. How did this affect you? Maybe for some of you, I'm working with one person where she said I was a business major. And when I ended up locked in my parents' basement for however many months and finally got a job outside helping to build fences because I couldn't stand being inside anymore, I started to really do some reflecting on what I wanted out of life. Because that quiet allowed me to really kind of hear my own thoughts and what was going on. And she realized that she wanted to be a dentist, so she changed her major. She changed everything about her life. That's the kind of stuff they want to hear. Um, I don't have a lot of extracurriculars because I was working through undergrad. That is understandable, that is admirable, and a lot of admissions committee members, especially if you were a waitress, they always used to say, oh, waitressing is just like dentistry. You got to deal with the people and the complaints and da, da, da. So trust me, whatever you've done, you can make it fit in with dentistry. If my transcript doesn't say that labs are included for Gen Chem, enter it exactly as it reads. If you have a question, reach out to the helpline. They will get your question answered like that. But do not make a judgment call and change anything. Keep in mind also that dental schools are used to all these colleges you've attended, right? If you live in New York, Columbia and NYU and Stony Brook and Truro and Buffalo have likely seen a transcript or more from the colleges you've attended. Don't worry about that. Any questions whatsoever, you reach out to the AADSAS helpline and they will answer it for you. Let's see. What's the acceptance rate for international students? I do not know. You're going to have to go school by school and see how that's handled. Some schools will not accept international students, others will. I'm sure within the ADEA, you can probably find some data on that that's going to give you information on where the best schools for you to apply are. Let's see, what else do we have? High school working experience, someone asked about previously. Oh, that was the one where you were allowed to pull a tooth. But the point being, if you're going back to high school, it should be something that's continuing into college and beyond. Schools aren't really interested in what you did in high school. Their assessment of what you've done usually begins with your first year of college. The exception being if you did something in high school that has carried on. Also, if anyone is an Eagle Scout or has the Girl Scout Gold Award or has reached kind of the Intel Science Competition or something like that, some high level of achievement in high school, that's certainly notable. But basic volunteering or service to others or shadowing in the dentist's office, not too interested in what happens, what began in high school. Do out-of-state applicants have a lower chance getting into private dental schools? Private dental schools versus state schools, right? If you're in New York, the private schools are Columbia, Truro, and NYU. The state schools are Stony Brook and Buffalo, part of the state university system. In California, state schools are UCSF, UCLA. Private schools are USC, Loma Linda, University of the Pacific. You get what I'm saying, right? Every state has private and state. Private schools do not care where you're from. The only reason state schools care is because they are funded by the taxpayers of the state. So their mandate is to educate the children of the taxpayers of the state, right? You're a resident of the state of California. UCLA is going to look at you before they're going to look at someone from Illinois. So you really want to apply to all your state schools for the state that you are a resident of. And then look around at private schools that you would go to, but they don't care where you're from. Private schools, not a bit. See, yeah, Abigail has some good information. If you go to the ADEA website and look up, there's a general report for, I believe it's the 2022 applicant year, and it has every piece of data and issue about who the applicants and matriculants are. There's a table within there that shows in-state, out-of-state. Just start searching around under facts and reports and things like that, and you'll find it. Is a 3.4 GPA and a high DOT score good? Can't say. More than just that goes into it, but it seems like you're going in the right direction for sure. There's a new dental school that opened in California in Elk Grove. Is that Cal State Northridge? Is that what that is? Or North something? Yes. Students completing a non-science master's program, even though the degree requires you to complete several, but not all science courses. I'm not quite sure. I don't understand the question. So several science courses are part of the non-science master's program. Yeah, any master's program you're doing to try and improve your academic record should be scientific in nature. If there are science courses within this, that will help. But if you're struggling in any way, shape, or form and want to get, let's say, a master's of public health, that's going to be attractive to schools, but it's not going to address an academic deficiency in your sciences. So any additional post-baccalaureate undergraduate or master's level graduate science courses you can take are going to be to your benefit. I have more of a medical based experience than dental schools, such as a CNA. Will this look bad? Well, explain to me in your application and in your essay why you have more of a medically based background. If you were originally pursuing medicine, that actually is a place where you would mention that in one sentence, and then tell me why you've changed your mind and why dentistry is right for you, and show me that you have investigated dentistry, right? You're not only working as a certified nurse's assistant, but you actually are volunteering and you understand what dentistry is. Let's see. A good personal statement and application compensate for a score with 1719 AA. Many schools are going to look for different things, right? Some schools will be looking only at your metrics of your grades and your DATs. Others will take a more holistic look at things and deep dive into it. If we just missed the ADEA virtual dental fair was just a few weeks ago. A good place to ask questions, but I would get again that dental school application guide, the guide to schools, and it'll show you the range of scores that they consider. And I would reach out to schools and say, you know, what are you looking for? If there's summer programs or open houses or virtual programs you can go to, all of these things are very, very important for you to attend. Do the DAT attempt and scores affect the interview chance? Well, if you took the DAT 3 times and ended up with a 25, I'd be pretty happy to see that, right? Don't worry too much about taking it more than once if your scores continue to go up. You may be asked about, why'd you take it so many times? Because I would caution all of you not to take it until you are ready to take it. Don't take it to test it out and see what it's like. If you end up with a 16 and then your next round is a 21, I'm looking at you from an admissions point of view and saying, I really don't think that you likely guessed to get a 21. So I think 21 is your level of knowledge. But reach out to schools directly and ask them what they're looking for. Could a career-ending injury in D1 soccer that led to my choosing becoming a dentist be a good point in a personal? And say yes, and I have seen that before, actually more than once, especially in the post-bac program. Excellent, right? Explain it to me. Explain to me what happened, and explain to me how it changed your mind, or how it I shouldn't say changed your mind, affected your career trajectory. Being a D1 athlete is very impressive. Schools like to see student athletes. Schools like to see students who work as well as going to school. They like to see first generation students. They like to see people who work significant hours and try and balance competing priorities. Don't leave any of this out. All these personal details about yourself are important. We are at 8 o'clock. We have reached the end of our time. I hope if any of you are interested in working with me on your personal statements or on your applications, Erica had put a link in this chat to be able to work with me. I think I found it here. I'm going to try and see if I can enter it. Nope, it's not allowing me to. But it's back at 7:03 p.m. from Erica. And if you can't find that within the chat before I log off, just go to the Leland website, sign up for a free account, and you will be able to find me. My name is Ellen Watts, and I do dental consulting for Leland. And oh, thank you, Erica. She just dropped it in here. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I look forward to hopefully working with some of you. I don't have many spots left, but I'm eager to fill them with people who are looking for the opportunity to put their best foot forward in dental admissions. So I wish all of you the best.